everybody. Welcome to our meeting today for Clear Tai Chi. And this is us and our regional organizers today. I've got with us Harry Legg from New Jersey.
Hello, 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 hello.
Greg Nolmeyer from Michigan. Hey. And Matt Holker from here in Tennessee, originally from Minnesota. All right. Today, what I want to talk to you all about is what is the most important skill in Tai Chi, and obviously trained through internal push hands. And if you had to name one skill that you didn't get anything else but that skill, what skill would it be?
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that ting.
That's right. And that's exactly it. Ting, sensitivity. Because if you have any other skill that somebody can name, will that skill, it's on its own, get you up to where you could be really, really, really high level in skill and ability. And there's no other single skill that will do that. Now you could say, well, you have to have some things, and I wouldn't disagree with that. So they're key to doing it. At the same time, if you're going to have really high sensitivity, in order to increase that sensitivity, you end up having to do those things. And so if you didn't know how to do those things, but you just had a gateway into really being that sensitivity and feeling and tinging, what would happen is as you get better and better and you're working on all the things that you would need to do to have that more sensitivity, you'll end up doing all of the other key skills in Tai Chi that you need in order to increase that sensitivity. And then once you've got those, the sensitivity ability still increases and continues to advance at that point, versus once you've got the other things you think of as basics, can they be improved? Yes, they always can be, but the increments after a certain point of strong basic are really small, and the sensitivity, I have not found anything that resembles an end to that at my point today, 43 years into the art. That keeps expanding and growing and getting better and more, and from what I can tell, will continue long term. Ting is that they call it listening skill, but it's listening because you're trying to perceive every aspect that you can. Like if I was listening to an orchestra and I'm trying to hear specific instruments or sections in that orchestra, and you're kind of listening for that, except in this case, you're listening and feeling for the energy and the movement and the energy and the structure and the mind and the all these other things and different energy systems in the body, whether that be your Wei Qi or whether that be your internal energy, like what you're mobilizing and moving around to do things. Again, your Yi or mind, listening for your spirit or your Shin, those kind of things. And what you can feel and how many different things you can feel and how much you can feel them and how fast you can feel them. These are all skills that should really be worked on and developed and improved and increased, and it should be your number one thing that you're practicing. And if you continue to practice that, at some point, just because of that skill alone, you will exceed what pretty much anyone else is doing in Tai Chi, particularly when it comes to things like push hands. Now, if what you can perceive is I feel a thing and then he's doing something, that's kind of a one thing for 1 second. And most of the time they will beat you on that, although there are things you can listen for where you may indeed beat them, even though it's the one thing. At the point where you can feel 5 things at once, a lot of people will get moved out because you're actually able to feel those 5 things and are tuned into those 5 things well enough that will cause them to be moved out. Just because you're feeling and aware and in there with your mind and you're feeling your sensitivity on those 5 things. At the point where you can feel about 50 things a second, you will utterly destroy almost every other practitioner that you would touch hands with, especially if they can only feel a few items, like 3, 4 items or less in a second. you're literally more than 10 times faster than them. And even though it's internally, and the speed is so greatly more, that by the time they realize something and change and do that, you felt them feel it, you changed for it completely, you're already back, and they're still trying to feel the thing that they initially found. And your sensitivity to all of that was so high that it's like they're standing still and you're running really rapid laps around them and they can't see you doing it. It's that difference. And so the question with this is, knowing that it's that important of a skill, how much time do you or will you put into practicing and increasing that skill as opposed to any other thing? And with that if you're getting pushed out a lot when you're first working on building this, or even if you've got where you can feel 5 or 10 or 15 things a second, but you're mostly getting beat, but you are doing it constantly with the idea of how much can I feel, how fast can I feel it, how deep in there to feel that can I get, and it's more and more and more and more and more on that sensitivity. At some point, some level of it, it should get really hard for people to move you, but it really is, you have to invest in that loss, that you don't care that they're moving, you've got nothing to do with it. It's got everything that it's got to do is how much can I sense, how much can I feel, how fast can I feel it, how wide, how deep, how thorough can I feel the thing, plus can I feel what's behind the thing, can I feel what's behind that, and the thought behind that, and the spirit behind that, and how deep in there, and how quickly can I feel those things. Part of this is that feeling is the #1 critical skill for healing yourself. You can't heal something you can't feel. I basically have fully healed my back at this point, or 99.9%. In order to do that, I had to really be able to feel in there at a very refined level. And by being able to do that, I was able to make the adjustments internally to really do that. And I'm talking about from where I broke it in 4 places 2.5 years ago, if you weren't aware that happened. When you're healing others, it's the same thing. If I can fully feel into them, fully, thoroughly, completely, 100%, and everything around that, and everything that's affected by that, and everything that causes that, and contributes to that, and really do it at an extremely high level, it is not hard to adjust those things. If there's any lack of sensitivity at all, in any way, shape, or form, you don't have the full, complete, entire picture, very hard to heal that thing, because you'll miss things. And then you can't make an appropriate, it really needs to be more like that. And you need to be able to, while you're making the adjustment, feel how everything changes, where it changes, when it changes, how much it changes, what other factors are now contributing or being affected by that, and all that stuff. Any thoughts, comments on any of that? It's only talking to you about the healing in a minute. I'll talk to you about fighting here next. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it is occasionally helpful to really just target, I'm going to look for this. The thing that I'm having trouble feeling, I'm going to look for that.
Yes.
Just occasionally, or setting a number, like you say.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Because in the beginning, you have to really you have to pick things in our level 1 curriculum. You'll notice the first stuff, it's really overt, obvious stuff that our society is very familiar with. Feel their heartbeat. People check for a heartbeat all the time, or used to the idea that you can feel a pulse. Put your hands on them and feel their breath in and out, right? Feel their digestion. I mean, sometimes you can even hear it, for real hear it, that kind of thing. And so there's these overt things. And then as we go into our level 1, it becomes slightly more subtle, slightly more difficult things to feel more and more and more and more. And then in level 2, we hit much more strongly on the idea of feeling their entire structure, and where there's any gaps, where there's any kind of a break or a disconnect, what parts of their structure they're using and tying into, and what parts they're not. Any tensions that they've got, and that includes, and in the beginning, of course, bigger tensions, but then more and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller tensions. Even if the tension is just an anxiety or a concern or an apprehension, which goes to the thought then. and then getting in there more and more and more and more refined, and then picking it up faster, like before you touch or just as you make the contact, and then being able to get a bigger and better picture of all of that earlier and earlier in the process, with a lot more information from it, and then the ability to process that information. The listening isn't just what you heard, it's you listened to what you heard. And then that becomes knowing. For the parts that you have down like really well, that you haven't even touched them yet, you're picking these things up and they're immediate, you know what that is and you know how it works, and it's a real picture of what they've got. That has now become knowing, but your listening has to be really good for that to become knowing like that. And when you know it and they don't know it, it's really easy to do things with that.
Well, there's a lot of things that people don't know that you can feel, feeling their root, feeling their upper connection. Also, not only tensions, but feeling gaps.
Gaps.
Which,
Yep.
actually was one of the things that you had assumed many of us had better skill at and had to kind of reintroduce and explain.
Yeah. And level 2, I actually put the entries in there for that in order to make sure that we specifically hit it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So then for fighting, realize things like you can't stop what you can't perceive. If you can't perceive something, you can't get in front of it and stop it if you were going to do it that way, which isn't really how Tai Chi, normally Tai Chi doesn't want to get head to head. But if you didn't know it was there, you couldn't get head to head anyways, or it would be a lucky guess if you did. And Tai Chi is not about lucky guesses. It might be at a level, but if you're really working for high level, it becomes, you know what's going on there, not I guessed about what was going on there. You must feel their attack early enough to respond. If they're already running over you, then that's really mostly too late. So you have to feel their welling up and their focusing in and their everything and where it's at exactly, and where they're trying, the route or the route that they're trying to take to get to you, and how they're doing that, and what kind of changes they already have built into their system there to apply with that. And you have to feel all that stuff early enough so that you're very ready to respond in that moment that it's happening. You must feel where and how they are strong. You must feel where their weaknesses are and how to access those weaknesses. If you can put your hand on somebody, especially with E, and be really on that weakness where you're collapsing their structure internally, or making it they can't bring energy through because of that place, it's like you can just put your finger on it, literally, through them, and they go to push you, and it's like you're Superman and they got nothing, even though you're really not doing very much. And the Ting is the Ting Jing, the sensitivity is the key to that. Yeah. So that's something you're seeing through our system all the way across. Is
the example you're just talking about too is one that beginning students, when they start to feel somebody doing that, they're just saying, oh, you're using a lot of force, because the Ting is not high enough to perceive the difference between force and root, or force and a break in my structure.
Yes.
So that's one where that happens all the time.
Yeah. We've had people come and literally break down in tears at some of our stuff, swearing we were using all kinds of force on them. And I'll do stuff like stand on one leg and go up on my toes and have a finger on them. And I go, okay. And they're like, but you're so powerful, you're using so much force on me. And it's like, I just have you targeted really well. And you're going to have to feel that and then change that up. And then I won't be able to do this like this, because you'll have appropriately responded to that little bitty area in you that I've got my finger on that's stopping everything else. And it's not power. And you're right. They think that we've had them break down, like it was a gal, but she broke down in tears, like, you're using so much power on me. And it was like, no, we're really, really not.
I witnessed you pushing with someone who's an older gentleman who had been doing Tai Chi for many, many years, giving you a pretty strong push. And he accused you of pushing too hard when all you were doing was putting your mind in his back where he was emanating power from.
Yep.
Said, no, you're too hard. You're too hard. And he did not get what you were doing.
Yeah. Well, and when that one happened, this was a Chinese gentleman at a Chinese meeting where I was trying to be really careful, because otherwise I could be seen as being the rude American. And so what I did was I stood there talking to him, talking to his teacher, and being really casual about it, even though I had my mind on the other side of him like that. And so what was funny about that is he accused me of that. And I was like, please point out a place in my body where I'm being hard like that. And he couldn't because I wasn't. So yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. That I just had him targeted so well that he couldn't do anything about it. And to him, I was being ultra powerful, even though anybody looking at me from the side was like, that dude's not using any force at all, because it wasn't. So yeah. Harry got to be present for that. So
yeah, I was there for that too, actually.
Oh yeah, you were. Yeah.
One thing I have found helpful for beginners to kind of understand the concept a little bit better is it's an old, I don't know, anatomical demonstration, I guess, that I remember from when I was a kid, and a lot of people have seen this, and even people who haven't can do it really easily. And it's, you get someone sitting in a chair, and then pretty much anyone else with like two fingers on their head can keep them in the chair. They can't stand up because they can't get the leverage to do it. Now, this is if they're not using their hands somehow to, push themselves through the force, but just physically, you can't like get enough leverage to get on your feet from that position, and it doesn't take much strength to keep you there because your structure's broke. And that's an extreme example of that, but that's something that I have found that beginners can kind of understand right away. And it's like, all right, so Tai Chi is the art of finding those places where your structure is broken like that, even though you're already on your feet. And that tends to help them at least sort of wrap their mind around the principle enough to to get past the idea of, well, you're just so much stronger than me. And for me, that's less of an issue, that because I'm a smaller guy than either Harry or Sifu or Greg for that matter. I'm just a smaller looking guy, and so like I get accused of using force less often because I can really easily grab bigger dudes and go, no, it works with everybody, come here. And it's just there typically are those kinds of people for me to do demonstrations with. But that's not always the case for like you or Sifu or Greg or, bigger guys.
Yeah.
And so that's a way that when I have been in a room with like all women, and they were all like smaller than me noticeably, that's something I can get them to do to each other. And then they go, oh yeah, I see it was not, I did not have to put a lot of effort into that. It was not about being bigger or stronger. It was about being in the right position.
I like it. Cool. The faster that you can feel and the more that you can feel and respond to what you feel. So in other words, it's not like, I feel that thing. Oh, there it is. Because they're shoving you before it ever gets to that. Now, when you're beginning, you have to take the time and do all that. But the faster as you build it, and if I'm letting somebody just shove me out again repeatedly, and I'm working on feeling, what I'm working on feeling is first feel as much and as thoroughly as I can. And then I'm working on how fast can I get a read on that and get in there. And then how much more around that and about that can I feel? And then how quickly can I take that in and have there it is as a response back. And ideally it's simultaneous. I mean, it's like instantly, right? And the more you can do that, the more unequal the fight is on your side. That you're going to have just such an easy time dealing with them if those things are accurate, right? And when you proceed more than 5 times faster than them, it's like they're standing still and you're running around them. And so then it becomes fairly easy at that point. But it does need to be a true 5 times. So if they feel 2 or 3 things, it's more like you're feeling 15 things in order to be the 5 times faster. And also how much can they, because let's say they only perceive a couple things, but they perceive them fully and pretty thoroughly, you can do 15 things, but they're all kind of sparse, then you're actually closer. You're still probably ahead of them, but you're not that many times ahead of them. Maybe you're getting about double what they are, and they really have got something really well. And so it has to be that you can get that 5 times more than them at the same amount of depth and total input that they're getting on each one of the things that they're getting. And so it's a skill that you have to work at and put real time into, but it is extremely doable. All right, and so then it's also for spiritual development through the art. the sensitivity is critical. If you can't feel it, then where is this coming from, and how are you getting that, and that kind of a thing. And it's just automatically deposited in your head. There are people that work on this kind of a system. I'm not a fan of it because it lets the human being, the individual, put way too much interpretation on that that's not accurate, or that they're just making it up as they go along. And so the ability to actually feel that truly, and to know what that, be able to get in there and deep enough to know what that is and how it is and what's going on with it and all that kind of thing. It will add then to your own development in that way. And of course, the same thing is true, even more so, for internal power. All the types of internal power skills, your sensitivity, that's the key, is how much and how fast and the depth and the breadth and the whole thing. All right.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Internal push hands practice is absolutely essential to real development in Tai Chi. There is no better or faster way to get hands-on feedback of your progress. But not all push hands games and even internal push hands games are created equal. There is one internal push hands game that builds true internal skill faster and better than anything else I've ever seen. I teach the nitty-gritty of that game in an online course that is available at internalpushhands.com. In over 40 years of constant study and research, this internal push hands method has stood the test of time. The Clear's internal push hands method is truly the secret of my success and the secret of the success of all of my top students. To learn more about the internal push hands and how to add it to your own training, go to internalpushhands.com. That's internalpushhands.com.
So how do you train to perceive and continually improve your ability to feel more? So this is more of a question. How do you train to perceive and continually improve your ability to feel? And the first thing I would say is, how do you feel like one thing, but feel it more, like a lot deeper, a lot wider, a lot more thoroughly, more? And if you haven't considered that, you need to put some time into that and figure out for yourself what it's going to take. And not that I don't have some keys and some clues for you, but that you actually put some time into, okay, I'm going to take one little place that I can find pretty easily and expand my ability with that by a lot, and then apply it to the other kinds of places and things that you can feel. Then separately from that, how do you train to perceive and continually improve your ability to feel faster? Can I pick it up before I put my hands on them, even though it's inside them? Or as soon as I touch, as much information as I can get at the touch right away, and to make it faster and faster and faster and faster and faster? And what am I doing to work on that ability to really be able to get a bunch of information like that and to be able to know what it is in that instant? And then I've got also better, deeper, wider, as it changes and moves, as they're changing and moving, and be able to really track really well with that, so that you begin to get a sense for how they're moving. You can actually reasonably well predict, this is where this is going, this is where this is coming to, this is how it's coming, those kinds of things. And what are you doing that's allowing you to get enough of a picture to do that? And these are things that if you ask me what I would be training 3/4 of the time, in fact, let me put it this way, this is what I train 3/4 of the time. 3 out of 4 times, if I put hands on with you, I'm doing this as the primary, main, only thing I'm doing. If you put all your eggs into this basket and you exceed everyone else you can touch hands with at this one skill, then you can learn skills by touch. And in fact, you can learn, in terms of Tai Chi, you can learn any skill by touch. They won't be able to hide it from you. So if you get with an advanced master and they're doing stuff and they're hiding it, they don't have to tell you anything. You build your Ting well enough, you touch them or they touch you, you will be able to glean the information and get it. And I recommend highly, especially if you're a serious student, even if you're just beginning with Clear Tai Chi, that you take this to heart, because obviously if you're not local, at some point you may get hands-on with somebody that really has some higher level skills than you. And being able to get it from the touch means you're still learning just because you're touching with them. Doesn't matter whether they're pushing you out or not. The next time they see you, if they've got a skill set that's really cool or high level and you can do that, then you'll be doing it too. Maybe not like them, but that's a matter of time and practice. When you put all your skills in this basket and really work and exceed everybody at this skill, you will be massively internally faster than other people unless they have the same skill set. You will be able to capitalize on any error they have. And if we're talking about more advanced play, typically before they even know you have done it, and they won't know you did it, and they won't know how you did it. Your slow speed will easily exceed their fastest speed. And part of what I mean by this is not faster moves. It's that your mind will go in and perceive the thing, have a full understanding of the thing, change or manipulate yourself and or their insides about the thing because of the thing. And all of that's happening at the speed of the first touch, at the first contact. So it's like instantly. And so for them, they'll perceive that as you are really, really super fast, certainly compared to them. But you're not moving physically faster than them. You don't have to. Now, I'm not talking about something that happens on your first day or second day or first week or first month for most people, the vast majority of people. But it does become this. Your mental abilities, your your mind, and your intelligence level and that kind of thing, that will all skyrocket because of this. And in psychology, this is one aspect, this ability to perceive and to process what you perceive. That is one aspect of IQ or mental intelligence, and an important one. Your internal skills will also skyrocket. Any other thoughts from that from either one of you two guys that are still on the call?
No, I mean, just reinforcing and just saying, yeah, because it's everything that I have experienced and continue to experience. And there are so few people, there are definitely some, but so few people outside of our group, the people that have our training, that are feeling in and using Ting. You can tell the second they put their hand on you, it's just pure Lee. They're just on you trying to move you, and they are not feeling in at all.
Yep.
And you try to be polite, and not in a teaching situation, but I'm at a meetup where, we're sharing things back and forth. And when I say, hey, you're just on me, and I say, hey, feel me on you like that, and now feel me feel into you, and they go, oh, but they don't get it. So few seem to be getting this.
Yeah, there's, as far as I can tell, we are the only people in North America that have this kind of high level skill, and some of these other high level skills. And so there's other high level guys, plenty of them. But as far as I've been able to discern, we are the only ones who have that level of ability and are teaching it. And I am very interested, by the way, in meeting and interacting with other people who have these high level skills like this and are teaching it. I know a bunch of people that have high level skills, so don't be like, oh, he's high level, you should meet him. I've met a lot of high level skilled people, and I know a lot of high level skilled people, and I interact with and like to interact with a lot of other highly skilled people. For what we're up to now, to try to help you and the rest of the Tai Chi community to get more of what really is there to be had for the benefits in Tai Chi, I want to meet other people who have it and they're openly teaching it, that they're really putting it across. And I just, as far as I can tell, we may not be the only one, but there's not hardly anybody else doing this. And so if you know somebody else who's got it and they're openly teaching it, I would love to meet and interact with them. I am sure that we will get along great.
And openly teaching it before you've spent 10 years of just doing form.
Yeah, that's not openly teaching it. When they're hang around for 10 years, and I'll start to teach you a little bit at a time. I hope you're going to live to be 500 years old, because that's what it's going to take. If they're doling it out at that slow of a thing, There just are too many advanced high-level skills. As you begin to get into the sensitivity thing that I'm talking about, if you take what I'm saying here to heart, you'll figure out pretty quickly there's a lot of different skills and a lot of different aspects and a lot of different things. And just through the different levels and systems of the body and the mind and the spirit and skill sets with those things, that that it's going to take somebody 20 years or possibly longer of really being taught, boom, 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 here you go work that. And no jerking around, no, oh yeah, I'm taking my time. I've showed you that thing and now I'm not telling you how to do it. Go figure that out on your own. See you in a couple of years, when you get it. They really have to get across what it is, and then they have to and then if they're your teacher, maybe they're not teaching you something else until you put some real time into that. But they are having to actively teach it, because if it's something where you're having to go figure it out or keep doing the form, you're never going to get past. You'll be lucky if you hit intermediate level decently as a practitioner. You will never hit master level at that, or you will do it maybe the day on your deathbed. I think I finally got a master level ability. Master level ability. Okay, maybe in your lifetime or something you'll start to get it. But anyways, yeah. Train by investing in loss. You cannot train for this with an eye on winning. Pushing the other person out. That's what I want, because your desire to win will cloud and block your perception. You have to focus on building perception and speed and the depth of perception and amount of perception and refinement of that perception and the speed of that perception again and 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 again. ... non-ending. And if you do that, it may suck if you're towards the beginner level or even at a low intermediate level. You may be doing this for some years, but the day will come, somebody's going to put hands on you. They're going to be noticeably stronger than you and all kinds of other things, and other kinds of attributes, faster than you, younger than you. And you're going to put hands on them, and they're going to be like, I can't do anything to you. And you'll be like, well, when I move this thing that I'm feeling in you, boom, and off they go. And you'll be like, I really didn't do anything except for what I normally do, feeling inside of you like that. And they will swear that you went stronger than them, faster than them, all kinds of other stuff. But that investing in loss like that, that's the only way to get there, because every time you try to do something that doesn't involve that sensitivity at its higher ability for where you're at the moment, then you're not working on this perception, this Ting and Dongjin knowing skill. And your practice, in the beginning, it sucks. And for the beginning, I mean the first even several years maybe. At the more advanced level, it just gets cooler and cooler and cool. And the things that you can perceive and how you can perceive them, and the speed and the distance away from them without touching even, that you can begin to feel these things going on inside their body, and your ability to manipulate that and control that, and then to heal with it. And then it's your ability to use that for fighting. It's really cool and really profound, but it does require the dedication to the thing. And so I hope that's been of help to you. Go ahead.
You've mentioned, it could take a year or two. And while that's absolutely true, I have to pipe in and say, with our method, your method, Clear's internal push hands, one of my senior students had spent only 6 months with me, training between once and twice a week for 6 months. I brought him to a major event. It was the Tai Chi Gala. And he says to me off to the side, Harry, why am I meeting people that I'm pushing hands with that say, yeah, I've been doing Tai Chi for 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, and I'm moving them like it's a piece of cake. And he'd only been with me for 6 months learning your method. Yep. So it does happen fairly fast if you really, really work it.
Cool. Thank you for that. And that's, I'm with you. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and there are, there are always levels, and sensitivity is one of those things, like Clear said earlier, that goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, in 6 months, you can have very profound skill compared to a lot of people who've been doing Tai Chi a lot longer. But that doesn't mean that that's the end of that journey by a long shot.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I'll add to all of this, that I know, Sifu, you alluded to, but for me it's very important. As a student, I always look for things that allow me to take more responsibility for my own training and my own development, that do not necessarily require a particular teacher or a particular kind of playing partner or whatever it is. And sensitivity is one of those skills that is like that, that pays off like that in the long run, because you can use it to feel and therefore replicate other higher skill sets, down the road. The sensitivity piece of it really is the part of it that it makes the whole, it becomes your teacher as you learn more of it. It becomes something that where you can sort of teach yourself. And I've seen this from other masters where they can go touch with a tree and learn profound things about power and internal connections, and come back with more skill than they had before. But they couldn't do that if they didn't have the sensitivity. And for me directly, and I know that's long term, that's why I'm doing it. But also right now, that is the part of it. That's the game that I can play with anybody, even if they're less skilled than me. And I know I'm getting a bunch of skill out of it. If I'm really, really working on my sensitivity, and I'm really working on knowing where they're coming from and what they're doing and what they're bringing, and how I can best react to that, to neutralize it, react, respond, and take control of it. And I'm really feeling for all of that and not really doing anything else but feeling. I can play with people who have only been playing internal push hands for a couple days, and I get so much out of it every single time. And that for me is invaluable. When I started out, I didn't have to really worry about that, but as I've gone through and spent several years in the system, now I am seeing more and more new people come through the door, and more people who are wanting to experience this, and are kind of the beginning of their journey. And if I didn't have that method, if I didn't have that game and that specific way of thinking about playing, it would get old teaching new people pretty quick. And with this game, it's not old at all. It's great. I get so much out of it every single time. And and I can bring people up at the same time. And I don't, sharing the information gives us all more. And that's really how it should be, especially for those of us who are really committed to preserving the art the way that, Sifu, that I know that you are, and Harry and Greg and all the guys. But for people who are really coming from that place, we need more methods like that. But in the meantime, that just working on that skill set is so beneficial for you, long and short term, that I don't know why anybody does it any other way.
That was most of the time because they don't know yet.
Right.
We're working on that. If you want to know any more about, is there anything that we've got as a resource? I know we've got Dongjing, where there's a little bit of stuff to help them with that as a video. Is there anything else we would want to send them to if they're going, okay, how do I get started in this course? Coming out to the push hands level 1, or having that video set so that you can begin to work through and focusing in on the on obviously all the basics, but particularly on the Ting stuff, and there's a bunch of Ting in there, would be helpful. Getting with any of our guys, that if you're anywhere near any of the regional organizers, and going and seeing them and putting hands on and saying, I want to know how to feel inside better and really work on that skill. And if there's something off on your alignment or your structure or your softness that's going to take away from that, or if you're making the double weighted error, that's a good one to get for this, because the double weighted error is one of the things that destroys sensitivity the most. And it's what the double weighted error really is. Most people don't even realize how much that's affecting their sensitivity, because most people don't know what the double weighted error really is. So they make it because they don't understand it. But once you really get what that is, and you're not making the double weighted error, your sensitivity will go. It's like, I had a student for a long time, he couldn't feel very much. I really made sure I doubled down with him on not making the double weighted error. And it was like he went into a room where it was pitch black and like somebody flipped the lights on. He could see all this stuff that he could not see before at all. And because he'd been working at it long enough, it really was profoundly different like that. So
for those of you that are seeing this video, you're obviously on the proper Facebook group site. If you scroll down, you will find an article that is great on double weighting. Now, it's still scratching the surface, but it's giving you a really good explanation. You do have to get with Sifu Clear or someone that can really work with you on it as well. But if you're having trouble understanding what it really is, there is a phenomenal article that was put out fairly recently, within the last month or two, I think. If you scroll down, you'll find it.
Cool. And like I said, any of our regional organizers, same thing. Get with them and okay, they can teach you about that. They can work with you on that, and they can help build up that sensitivity and get you on this path to the higher level Tai Chi skills too. So, all right. I think that's all I had for today. Is there anything else you guys want to add about anything or to talk about or any of that?
I'm good.
I'll just throw out there, I think, but in my opinion, the best thing to do if you're working on the Ting skills is to go ahead and get the push hands level 1 instructor set. It's a 9-disc set, but it covers in detail the double weighted error. It covers a whole bunch of skill sets that you're going to work on and that you're going to want to work on, and every single one of them has an aspect of Ting in it. Ting is not one thing. You need the ability to feel a bunch of different things. And they all, at a certain point, the skill is one thing, but to really get how to use it and what you're looking for, there's a bunch of things you need to look to be able to feel, to be able to perceive. And at first you have to look for them. You have to listen for them. And then that becomes knowing. But to learn what to listen for, there's no better, more complete instruction that at least that we have or that we've seen on how to get started with that than the level 1 push hands instructor set. It is, it's a long set, but if that's what you're after, the game, the reason you're playing that game, other kinds of games that will help you work on it, on these skills and what the skills actually are, and more education on the double weighted error and how to get rid of that. It's all in one place. And so if you're working on any one particular thing out of that, we have particular sets of instruction like the double weighted error, like the knowing set. But if you're really just like, no, where do I start? How do I really get this going on? And it's not a matter of troubleshooting. It's that you're trying to kind of pick it up. The instructor set is probably the way to do it. And then for the long distance students, I will also add, anytime you can get hands-on with any of our guys for any reason, do it. If you've got the ability to do it, come out and get hands-on. Working the material from DVD is great. You're going to get a ton out of it. I did. It is fantastic material, and if you really work the stuff the way it's supposed to be worked, you'll get it. But if you can get hands-on with one of our guys, you'll get tune-up that will take everything you've already got to the next level and then give you more that you can work on from there using the same DVDs, but just with more and better understanding and more of a feel of what the stuff is that you're supposed to be practicing. And so to use the two in conjunction. Don't just try to do one or the other. You can get skill that way, but you're going to get so much better, so much faster if you use both resources together. And so do whatever you can to get out, even if it's for a long weekend or something, or just for an afternoon like if you're close to somebody, a workshop, whatever you can do.
Or
to
schedule a private lesson if it's something where you have to drive to one of the regional organizers and they're several hours from you, but they're the closest guy. Then you can always schedule a private lesson and go in and do it that way and take 2 or 3 hours. And that way you've got plenty you can go back home and work on for a month or two and then come back and do it again.
Yeah. And also I should just say, budget is always an issue. Time is always an issue. Getting vacation or days off. There is no substitute for getting with Sifu Clear, and below that, getting with one of his regional guys. So it's not a mystery. You can plan this. Go to cleartaichi.com, go to events, and pretty much all of the workshops are scheduled out around about a year in advance. So if you can look right now and see something that's in August of 2020, you've got a lot of time to save for it, plan for it, and so on and so forth. So if you're really serious, you would want to do this, in my opinion.
And if we don't have one on there, that's like a lot of times we only put so many months out in advance, even though we've got them scheduled. And so if you're looking like, I need something for later in the year than that, email us and ask us, or ask on the thread here, hey, what do you guys have coming up towards the summertime or towards the fall, or, you know, 2020 in this case. And we'll be able to tell you basically what and when. We won't be promoting it that much. And then if you needed to pay for that, if you're going to, and I want to go ahead and take care of it now, we'll get you a PayPal voucher or something so that you can do that. You know, then that way you're able to plan it all now, knowing that we'll actually post it and have it available somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 months before the event actually happens. That's when you'll normally see it on the events section. Anyway, so any other questions or anything about this and have to do with Ting, any specifics, I'd love to hear from you. Put it down in the comments below, and we'll try to make sure we get you back to you with a good answer, and ideally for the whole group here on Clear Tai Chi members only. Thanks for watching. Any other comment there?
No, thank you,
All
Steve.
good. Thank you, Matt.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right, next time. Keep training.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Mind over matter can be a confusing idea for a lot of folks. We just don't see it demonstrated that often. You hear about things like a mother lifting a car to save her baby that's underneath, but how can we reliably tap into that kind of power every time? Not just in extreme and unpredictable cases, but whenever we choose. With the right instruction and a few simple drills, even beginners can get mind over muscle power in almost no time at all. My name is Richard Clear, and internal power is what I do. I've been researching and sharing the secrets of effortless internal power for over 40 years. I want to spread those secrets far and wide. So I created a unique online program that gets results fast. The results are so good that I offer a money-back guarantee. Find out more about how it works at internalpowerkeys.com. That's internalpowerkeys.com. Thank you.